This is the Harry Loomis Show.
Welcome back to the Harry Loomis Show. Today it is Thursday, September 12th. I did not do a video recapping the playoff opener at Atlanta. It was a great race. Joey Logano ended up getting the win as I predicted. That's another prediction I got right, so I'll take that one. But today we're going to do something a little bit differently ahead of the Watkins Glen race. We are going to do power rankings. I'm going to rank my top 10 drivers as of right now. And that's kind of based off a variety of things, based on just speed, average finish lately, and just kind of the eye test, just kind of what I've been seeing out of the team as of late. So we're just going to take a look at who's been the best 10 teams in the past handful of weeks or so, especially since the Olympic break. I kind of don't take as much into consideration Indianapolis and anything before that, just because 2 weeks off is such a long time in the NASCAR world. It's the only break we have for a reason. So I think recency bias definitely matters, especially when you talk about power rankings. So here we go. First off, we're going to get some honorable mentions. Kyle Busch, even though he's not in the playoffs, he's running the best out of the non-playoff drivers right now. Top five in Michigan, second at Daytona, second at Darlington, was running up front at Atlanta, finished seventh. He's really turning around. I still don't think it's out of the question for him to get a win in the playoffs and continue his winning streak ahead of 2025. Ty Gibbs had two top fives in a row at Daytona and Michigan. Hasn't been great the last two races. He finished decently. He was running well at Atlanta, but ended up 17th. There were a couple different pit strategies that kind of held him back, but he had a good run there. Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric, I put as honorable mentions just because they had great starts to the playoffs. Suarez almost won again, finished second, led 9 laps, and then Austin Cindric really dominated the second stage in particular, led 92 laps, which is a career high for him, ended up 10th. So they both did exactly what they need to do to get ahead of the playoff cut line, which I had them both being first round exits, and they put themselves in a really good position as long as they do their job at Watkins Glen and Bristol to have an easier time getting to the second round. So starting things off at number 10, I have Alex Bowman, a guy who I talked about at the beginning of the playoffs, is one of the only guys where you really have a pretty good idea of what to expect from him every single week. I said he was one of those guys coming into the playoffs where it was just based on everyone else around him. He was going to run the same, and if things fell out of place for other drivers, he could easily make the round of 8. But if other drivers step up, kind of like we saw week 1, he could be around the 12 exit. But I don't think there's any way he doesn't at least make the second round. He had a good start to the playoffs, finished 5th, got some good stage points as well, so he's off to a good start there. But Bowman, average start of 15th, average finish at 15th. He's been right around there ever since the season started. Really, he didn't start the post-Olympic break the best, but has had top 20s the last 3 races. And like I said, a 5th place finish here is exactly what the doctor ordered for Bowman. He's not a guy that's going to wow you by any means, but he's getting the job done every single week. And right now, he is, in my opinion, the 10th best team in the NASCAR Cup Series. Number 9, Brad Keselowski. Pretty similar story to Bowman. I talked about them both before the playoffs started. They are guys where you pretty much know what to expect. They don't really have a lot of, I don't want to say flashes. They're pretty consistent, but it just depends on people around them. But Keselowski's been on a much better run since the post-Olympic break. 16th, 5th at Michigan, 8th at Daytona, and then 14th and 19th. Kind of a disappointing showing from Keselowski at Atlanta, if I'm being honest with you. I had higher expectations for him just because of how well he ran there in 2023. He could have easily won both of those races. And we just know him as a drafting guy, as a super speedway guy. But RFK really didn't show up on Sunday, which was a bit disappointing. Chris Buescher had a rough day too, got in an accident. But Keselowski is another one of those guys that's doing everything he needs to do right now, and he will easily make the second round at this rate. But how he does going forward is still to be determined. But Keselowski is consistent enough. He's been consistent all year. I really don't have a lot of concerns about him right now. He's kind of one of those guys that if you know what you're going to get, that is far from the worst thing you can ask for. I'd rather have a consistent guy with a 14.3 average finish than a volatile guy that could win 5 races but also DNF 11 times. So I really like where Brad Keselowski and the 6th team are at right now. At number 8, I have the most recent winner, Joey Logano, a guy who started the year out pretty terribly. First 10 races, he was leading a good amount of laps, but only had 1 top 5, 3 top 10s. And for a lot of the season was just a non-factor. He really got saved from that crazy finish at Nashville where he ended up winning. But he was strong all day long at Atlanta. Got pretty good stage points. He got 7 stage points in total and put himself right where he needed to be at the end of the race to win. I had Logano, like I said, so I was pretty happy with that. But Logano in general has been running really, really well since the post Olympic break. We remember Richmond; he got a 19th place finish, but he was leading in turns 3 and 4 before he got junked by Austin Dillon. That was a really strong showing. It kind of showed me that they are going to be a contender. We know what even year Logano can do. We know what playoff Logano can do. He's the best playoff clutch driver, in my opinion, since Jimmy Johnson. The fact that he's always able to step up in the moment. And so far this year, it's been no exception. Had a great run at Daytona going as well. This is a team that's definitely hitting their stride at the best time of year. So do not count out Logano in your playoff brackets. If you're a betting man, keep an eye on the 22 team because they are as good as they've been right now, in my opinion, since the 2022 season, where you might remember they won it all. At number 7, I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. He was leading the point standings earlier in the year, obviously hasn't had the same speed at the end of the regular season, but the last 5 races since the Olympic break, he's been really solid. 9th, 15th, 36th, got in a wreck at Daytona, then 11th, and a really solid 8th place finish at Atlanta. Another guy that just kind of stayed out of the way, stayed out of the headlines, and just found himself hanging around the top 10 all day, just avoided all the trouble. And that's what Elliott really needs to do right now. He doesn't have the speed to win races. Really, the only guy that's been showing race winning speed lately is Kyle Larson out of that Hendrick brigade. But there's other ways to continue to survive and advance, and Elliott is doing a really good job of that. He's getting stage points when he can. He's not pushing the issue, and like I said, him and his team, Alan Gustafson, that pit crew, are doing the job they need to do to get the finish that they need every single week. So right now, Elliott sits as the 7th seed on my power rankings. At number 6, it might be a little bit of a surprise to some based on reputation alone, but Denny Hamlin. What I don't know what that strategy was at Atlanta. They didn't show up right. They had issues in qualifying. 3 of the Gibbs cars had to go to the rear of the field for an adjustment, which didn't matter for Hamlin because he was already starting back there. But he really had no intentions of trying to compete and try to win that race. He and Gabe Hart were content riding in the back. I think he said all he was trying to do was get 20 points. I don't know what that was. I didn't like the strategy at all, and it didn't work out. He finished 24th, only got 13 points, is barely ahead of the cut line right now, which granted he should be fine. He runs well at Watkins Glen and he's won the last 2 Bristol races. I don't think that'll be an issue, but definitely a concerning start to the playoffs if you're a Denny Hamlin fan. And it doesn't even matter how well he ran at Darlington, how well he ran at Richmond, running decently in Michigan before the penalty. Things just do not seem right in the Denny Hamlin camp right now. I don't know what the problem is, but I didn't pick them to make the championship for a reason for the 3rd year in a row, and there's a lot to be concerned about if you're a fan of the 11 car right now. I don't think that it's going to be something catastrophic that'll take them out of the first round by any means, but they're I don't know. It just seems like something's up with this team, and it's not. It doesn't seem like things are going well right now. Hamlin, I think, has pretty much taken the number 2 role at Gibbs right now. I think he's gotten overmatched by Christopher Bell, and right now, based on performance, I think Ty Gibbs is giving him a run for his money. Obviously, with the 3 wins and the reputation, Hamlin has that spot, but they are not performing like a team that's anywhere close to championship contention right now. So until things turn around, I have Hamlin at number 6. At number 5, I'll go with William Byron. He had a pretty good start to the playoffs as well. Finished 9th, got 37 points, led 2 laps, did exactly what he needed to do. Byron hasn't been the same as he was in the first half of the season. Obviously, winning the first 8 races sets a pretty high standard for yourself. But the average finish, at the very least, has been decent. He's had a couple bad races, but he has a 2nd at Michigan, has a 9th at Atlanta in the last 5 races. I think the good outweighs the bad with Byron. It's not a situation like Denny Hamlin where things just seem wrong and there's a lot of issues behind the scenes. I think Byron's just kind of hit a skid, which he has the past couple of summers, but he shows up at the start of the season really well, and he shows up really well in the playoffs. So I have no doubt that Byron is going to continue to make a serious push for the championship four. He was my preseason champion for a reason, and I think that Saturday was just a taste of what's to come. Obviously, we're going to Watkins Glen where he won last year in pretty dominant fashion. Wouldn't be surprised to see him win there one bit, but I think Byron's in a very good spot right now, so he sits at number 5. At the 4th spot, I have Ryan Blaney, a guy who had probably the drive of the day at Atlanta, had a really good car, led 33 laps, got in an accident with Chris Buescher and Martin Truex Jr. Early. or late in the race at Atlanta, was able to overcome it, stayed on the lead lap, and end up getting all the way back to third. Almost got second before the caution came out. He was side by side with Suarez, but a really, really good showing out of Blaney, who needed it after wrecking out the last two races. Daytona just got caught in a late crash, and then Darlington, the incident with Martin Truex Jr., nothing he could do there. I don't hold those against him. I think the speed that Blaney has shown has still been there. Darlington, he had a really good car in practice and qualifying. Atlanta, obviously, he showed it. Michigan was running really well, led 15 laps. So Blaney, again, like I've said, he shows up in the playoffs. He's the champ. He's a defending champion for a reason. I think he's coming into the playoffs in a better place than he was in 2023 when he ended up winning it all. This is another guy that I think is really, really scary for the rest of the Cup Series competition the rest of the way. He's could easily make it back to the championship four, and if he makes it there, who knows what can happen. But right now, I like where Blaney's at. He's easily the best Ford driver right now, and he's going to sit at the fourth spot on my power rankings. Coming in at the 3 spot, we have Christopher Bell, a guy who's got top 5 finishes in the last 3 races, a third at Daytona, a third at Darlington, and a fourth at Atlanta. Even though he's not known as much of a super speedway guy, he's really been getting it done there. Bell, he just keeps improving on his best seasons. 2022 was a bit of a breakout. Then 2023, he ran a little bit better than that. And then 2024 is just blowing that out of the water. He's already got 721 laps led, 3 wins, 10 top 5, 6 top 10s, and 27 races. He is another guy. He's got 5 top 6 finishes in the last 6 races, and the worst finish out of those 5 is Richmond, where he led 122 laps. Could have easily won that race if it weren't for a speeding penalty. This team is really strong right now, and what makes them even stronger is that they're doing this without Adam Stevens. Stevens had his injury during the Olympics, so Bell has been running with Chris Sherwood, not his main crew chief, and they're still getting the finish done. Once Stevens returns to the pit box and returns to 100%, this team is going to be even more dangerous. Bell is becoming one of those guys that you can't take out of the equation at any type of track. He's won at short tracks. He's good on flat tracks. Won Phoenix, won New Hampshire, was really good at Gateway, should have won that. Super Speedways, he's get it done. He won a duel. He finished 3rd at the 500, 3rd at Daytona again, 4th at Atlanta. Like I said, there's really not a track that I can think of, at least that we go to the rest of the season, that I don't think is one that Bell could run well at. He qualifies really well, so he's always a threat for stage points, as on top of just getting really good finishes. A 14.9 average finish is really good in this current state of the Cup Series. So I think Bell, honestly, I think some people are sleeping on Bell. I see in some power rankings he's down at the 4 or 5 spot. I think he's right up there among the best. There's a lot of people that have him being their championship favorite for good reason. This is the team that has all the makings of a potential champion here in 2024. So if you're following along, you probably got a good idea of who the top 2 drivers are. It's not a matter, in my opinion, of who are the top 2. I think everyone has a pretty good consensus that it's Tyler Reddick and Kyle Larson. It's just the order that everyone has them in. And for me, the number 2 on my power rankings is Kyle Larson. Larson obviously leads the series in wins, leads the series in laps led. It's unbelievable at Darlington, didn't get the finish he deserved. But he's number 2 because in the last 5 races since the Olympic break, 2 crashes that have taken him out of a contention. That's cost him the regular season championship. No, not just the fact that he missed the Coke 600, but he's just getting in too many accidents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DNFs in 26 races due to crashes. Is he going to make the championship 4? In my opinion, absolutely. That's not a concern, but the consistency is not where you need it to be still. It's gotten better. He's had some years in the past where even though he was winning, he was just all over the place. In other weeks, he is making the argument for the best driver in the world, but he needs to keep it consistent because when he's on, I think there's no doubt in the world that he's the best. But when he's off, it's a really tough look and it's hard to defend him. But Atlanta, some people thought he lost a tire. It just snapped loose. Logano thought it was the underbody when he was talking with Dale Jr. I don't know what happened with that crash. It was a scary one. I'm glad he's okay, but it was just another bad finish. And granted, he can afford a couple bad finishes. He put himself in that position to where he doesn't need to worry about points right now. He's good, at least for the time being, but definitely missed opportunity for Larson at a track where he could have gotten some stage points, potentially competed for a stage win because he was running in the top 5. But I really don't have any issues or concerns with Larson at this current moment, and he sits very comfortably at the number 2 spot. which means that the number one driver on my power rankings is not much of a surprise, Tyler Reddick. Reddick, not a lot is going to keep this guy from running well, even a stomach bug like a Darlington. Since the Richmond race, he's run third, first, 28th after getting in a crash at Daytona, battled that stomach bug to finish 10th at Darlington, get the regular season championship by a point, and then a really solid sixth place finish where he really wasn't a factor all day long, but just put himself in position, avoided all the issues, like I said, with so many of these guys, and got the best finish he could have possibly asked for on that day. That is a championship level drive right there. The fact that maybe you were running 15th to 20th all day, but you do the best you can with what you got. And sixth place with Reddick absolutely accomplished that goal. Reddick, like I said, he's the most consistent driver in the Cup Series, and it's not really close. An 11 flat average finish is pretty ridiculous right now. Obviously, it's highlighted by that run since Iowa. He's got nine top tens in the last 10 races, and was pretty good before Iowa as well. Fourth, and eighth was finishes before that. Obviously, it's kind of a tale of two teams with 23-11 Racing. Bubba Wallace missed the playoffs while Reddick is continuing to shine, but I don't have any concerns with Tyler Reddick going forward. He is not going to be done winning races. I'll tell you that right now. I think he's going to win at least two more in the in the playoffs. I think he will be in the championship four. I don't think this is going to be a year we see a lot of chaos with some lower seeded drivers making it, just because guys like Larson have too many points and guys like Reddick are too consistent. So Tyler Reddick remains as my top driver. He is my top driver in the NASCAR Power Rankings. Before we end this video, we're going to take a look at the next race at Watkins Glen. We're going to try to make a pick for the Cup race. And if you've been following Watkins Glen, you know that Bet Hendrick, since 2018, Hendrick has won every single race. Last 5 races there, because it didn't run in 2020, went Elliott, Larson, and then last year was William Byron. Before that was 2017. Martin Truex Jr. won for Furniture Row Racing. How weird of a race was that? Matt Kenseth finished second on a road course. It was a fuel mileage race. Truex had the best car that day, but beyond that, it was a little bit wacky. So Hendrick is obviously the team to beat. I'm going to pick Hendrick again to win this race, and I actually am going to pick William Byron. I think he's going to continue the cycle of Hendrick times 2, Hendrick times 2, Hendrick times 2. He'll get a second consecutive win at Watkins Glen. It'll be his second road course win of the 2024 season after winning at Circuit of the Americas. I think Byron is a guy that's due for a win. This is around the point last year where he had that second win, winning Atlanta, winning Watkins Glen, winning Texas. And I think we're going to see something pretty similar here. Some guys I'm really curious about. Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric, like I said, had really good days, and they've run well on road courses in the past. Obviously, Cindric is a road course guy coming up. Suarez got his first win at Sonoma. I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to keep the momentum going, or if they're going to have issues and put themselves right back in harm's way. Chase Briscoe, Martin Truex Jr. had disasters for the first race. Truex obviously is a former winner here, but they are running so terribly right now. I'm really curious to see if they're going to be able to get something going for that 19 team. And Briscoe, on the other hand, is he going to be able to try to forge a comeback? Because right now he's put himself in a really tough spot. And I don't know if it's going to be something he's going to be able to crawl out of without a win. So a lot of pressure on him immediately. So that's going to be my pick. I'm going to take William Byron to get the win, and we're going to call that good. Thank you guys once again for watching the Harry Loomis Show, and we'll talk to you again soon.
This is the Harry Loomis Show.